and welcome to another episode of Do Go On. My name is Dave Warnicky, and as always, I'm here with Matt Stewart, and also Jess Perkins is here.
Hello.
Hey Dave, how's it going?
Well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Really good. You did quite a violent gesture when you pointed to me saying Matt Stewart, and then you full hand point to Jess saying Jess Perkins, like you weren't sure we would know who you were talking about.
I actually meant to slap both of you, but I missed both times.
Oh, that's so Dave.
So I'm glad you... I was hoping you wouldn't bring it up.
That is so Dave.
Whoops.
Tries to slap and misses.
Yes, twice. Damn it.
With your little arms.
It's so good to be here at Jess's house recording this podcast. This beautiful sunny winter's day.
You're giving away too much information about the location of my house.
That's right. They'll be able to pinpoint...
She does have windows.
Pinpoint the location
Matt,
of the sun.
Stop speaking.
I can see a tree. Oh, no, I've said too much.
You piece of shit. I need all of that beeped.
Redacted.
Redacted.
Hey, Jess, while I'm beeping that stuff out, can you explain to the listeners, especially new listeners, what this show is all about?
Absolutely. This is a show called Do Go On, and there's three of us, and we take it in turns to research a topic. We bring it back to the other two who don't know what we're going to talk about. We talk about it, and they make jokes, and look, we all have a good time. That's the most important part. It's often suggested by a listener, and we always get onto the topic with a question. And Matt, it is your turn to do a report this week. So what is your question?
My question is, according to historian Max Nelson, who wrote this in like 2005 or something, so it might not be true anymore, but I think it was, at least to him. That's why I put his name in there, because someone's probably like, oh, actually, I don't think that is. But anyway,
according to the current year, 2005.
According to historian Max Nelson, what is the third most popular drink?
Milk.
Seawater.
No, neither of those are correct.
Third most popular.
Tea. What can you... Tea is... T2? Tea is number 2.
Okay. Coffee.
Coffee's not in the
Just
top
water.
3. Water's number 1. What's number 3?
Soda.
It's not soda.
Beer.
It is beer.
Well
Fuck
done.
you, Dave. Oh, sorry. We went for different. I went competitive and you went supportive.
Good work.
Thanks, Dave.
Because I was thinking Coca-Cola's got to be up there, but we've done
it.
Was Cola on the list?
Cola wasn't on Max Nelson's list for 2005.
I'm deeply offended coffee's not there.
Yeah, it's interesting. So tea, guess...
I'm not a huge tea drinker myself,
I love tea.
I don't mind an herbal tea. I love a peppermint.
I love an Earl Grey. I think you know that's about me.
I do know that about you.
But yeah, no, I love tea. I love coffee too, don't get me wrong.
You're drinking one right now.
You also love beer.
I'd also love beer. I love liquid.
I think you love liquid.
I love liquid.
How do you feel about smoothies?
I love smoothies.
How do you feel about soupies?
Soupies are pretty good. We're starting to get a little bit further away from liquid than I would feel most comfortable
So they're like,
with.
because you don't like a thick liquid.
No,
What about like a thick shake?
Thick shake's okay.
What about
better than a milkshake or worse than a milkshake? A thick shake.
Oh, no, I prefer a smoothie. Is that an option?
Okay, what about a blended cheese and tomato sandwich?
What about that?
No, that sounds gross.
Okay,
that's interesting.
We just got to find the level here.
Put a little bit of milk in there and make it a bit more.
I don't know why, but I feel disgusted
water?
by that.
Come on, mate.
Yeah.
Get your head out of your ass.
I'd fucking smash at water right now. This topic, which I don't even think I'll tell you what it is. I don't know. You can help me call it something later. But it was suggested by Johnny Dawson from Leicester in the UK, Tyler Edwards from Canton in Georgia in the United States, and Lisa from Germany. And it's a story about... And beer is at the centre of it.
Okay,
It's not the story of beer, but it's a beer-related story.
Okay.
And it begins now. In November 1967, John Chickie Donohue... Chickie's the nickname. That's what I'm going to refer to him for the rest of the report.
Chickie. Spelt how?
Chickie.
Chickie. Love it. Thank you.
Me too.
So, November 1967, John Chickie Donohue was at his local pub, Doc Fiddler's, in Inwood, which is a neighbourhood of Manhattan in New York City.
Oh,
the
NYC.
Big Apple.
City never sleeps.
Exactly. You know what I'm talking about. The bar was run by an army vet named George Lynch, but everyone called him the Colonel.
Ooh.
He only ever reached the rank of private first class when he served.
Demanded to be called Colonel, though.
Yeah, just in that bar, the regulars loved him. They respected him. He was a big army. He loved the army. Apparently, he put up an American flag outside his pub every morning and took it down every night,
yeah, right,
almost ceremoniously. at this time, there was growing anti-Vietnam War sentiment in America. So it's really heating up the war in Vietnam at this point. And the evening news that they were watching, the 6 o'clock news in the pub, was showing coverage of an anti-war protest at Central Park in New York from that day. The Colonel and others at the bar were unhappy that the protesters were turning anti-soldier as opposed to just anti-war. I think they were like, be anti-war, but don't take it out on the soldiers.
Yeah. Yep.
They're like, surely take it out on the politicians who are drafting the soldiers to send over there. But, these soldiers, as far as they were concerned, they're just doing their duty.
They're just people.
They're serving their country. Some of them are, they're being drafted. It's not even their choice. Since Lyndon B. Johnson had taken over the American presidency from JFK, the number of American troops had increased in the conflict from 16,000 to 500,000.
Wow.
Whoa.
Lyndon be conscripting.
Yes, Lyndon B. conscripting.
Dave, that was amazing.
Thank you. I had to say it because people at home were like, "Is he gonna? They're gonna make a joke about
make a Lyndon B joke
after our JFK episode last year."
I'd written, mine wasn't as good. I'd written, Lyndon be sending lots of troops.
Sometimes the worse the better with Lyndon.
Yeah,
B.
That's what I
that's
figured.
why you wrote that. That's just for the comedy effects. Not
have you ever
you're
thought,
shit.
Have you ever thought something I said was dumb? Let me just say, I meant it.
I meant it to be dumb.
That's true for me as well. The Colonel knew many locals who had served or were currently serving in Vietnam, and he felt the anti-soldier sentiment was unfair. He thought news of this would be demoralising to the young soldiers if they caught wind of it, and he wanted to somehow show them they were supported. I guess he was thinking about the ones coming back as well as the ones over there. If they're seeing this news with banners saying GIs are murderers and this sort of stuff, it's like,
Yeah, you often see like in movies and stuff, them coming back and people spitting on them in the street and
Yeah,
stuff.
Wow.
Is that true?
Yeah, I believe
That's
so.
how
yeah.
bad the sentiment was. And you're right. Absolutely. A lot of them is like they've called your birthday and you have to go over and you're like a 19-year-old kid.
Young
It's
kids.
awful.
I don't think the lottery had happened at this point, but that did start happening a couple of years later.
Gotcha.
It got changed, but at this point there was a draft still. And it sounds like it was kind of... you could sort of wriggle your way out of it, especially the more privilege you had. Like if you had someone who knew someone, they could write a letter and you'd get out of the draft.
Gotcha.
But in this neighbourhood, apparently, for the most part, if you got drafted, you'd go. So in his bar that night, the Colonel suggested a plan. There's some things I'm quoting throughout this report, and it's from a book written by Chickie about the event. So in the book, it quotes the Colonel saying this out to all the punters in the bar. He said, "Somebody ought to go over to Nam, track down our boys from the neighbourhood and bring them each a beer. Bring them excellent beer. Bring them messages from back home. Bring them encouragement. Tell them we're with them every step of the way." That was his idea. That's what the Colonel was thinking. And this is where John Chickie Donohue comes in. Chickie was a US merchant mariner, a civilian seaman who worked on tankers and other commercial ships. Jess, if you could just explain to the class why you're having a giggle there.
I tried to conceal the giggle.
What are we giggling about, please?
Seaman. Sorry, I tried to not, and then Dave made it obvious I laughed.
Sorry, I laughed because you laughed. I was being very mature. And then...
I brought the whole tone down, I'm
That's
sorry.
right. Now the whole class has to stay back. Damn it.
Right, you're going to write semen on the board 100 times.
In what?
What colour chalk?
Oh, thank God, chalk.
So Chickie was a merchant mariner, let's say. And prior to this, he served in the US Marine Corps for 4 years from the late 50s into the 60s.
As a seaman.
Yes. He joined at the age of 17. They rejected his application to rejoin in 1967, citing his old age. He was 26.
Too old.
So he tried to re-up, as he said, but they're like, nah, you're too old.
All right, old man.
Wow.
Come on, Grandpa. Jog on,
Okay,
mate.
keep going. Oh, sorry, you probably can't jog on. You'll break a hip. How about you just waddle on gently, okay? Fucking hell.
Which is interesting because they needed so many.
Yeah.
Right, sure. Give that a couple of years. They're like, please come back.
Take a 26-year-old. That's a young person.
And they've been in before. They've got a bit of maturity now. He's seen the world. Come on.
I would kill to be 26.
Yeah.
Kill.
Well, Vietnam, a war might be the exact
Might be-
place for you.
Yeah.
But you come home and you're even older than when you left. This is bullshit.
This is, what the fuck? I said I'd kill to be 26.
Not for this. Many locals were drafted in the military out of high school at the age of 18.
Oh, God, it's so awful.
You could even join at 17, though your parents would have to sign a permission slip. Like a field trip in school, a 9,000-mile field trip from which they might never return, as Chickie later wrote in his book.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess any field trip could be something you don't return from, can't it, you know? That's why you got to just live every day.
That time that we lost 4 people at the Ballarat Sound and Light show at Sovereign Hill.
Yeah.
Grim day.
You didn't go look for them, or?
Nah, they just didn't make it up back on the bus. But we hear that they set up new lives there. There's good schools up
Oh,
in
that's
Ballarat.
really nice. Yeah, it's lovely,
so-
actually. Good sized town.
We
Got
did a
everything
head
you
count.
Yeah.
We were short a
Yeah.
few. What are you going
What are
to
you
do?
gonna do?
14 is basically 18.
Yeah.
We'll be right.
We rounded up.
need. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll quote this book a little bit. It's called The Greatest Beer Run Ever. And it's a great book. I read it both in word form on the page and also noise form in the ears.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a third way you're planning to consume it?
I also printed out the pages and ate them.
Fantastic.
But yeah, obviously I don't go into the story in as much detail as the book. Fantastic book. Hot tip. Beautifully read on the Audible
Is it
version.
read by Chickie?
It's not read by Chickie, but it's read beautifully, I will say
Cool.
that. By late 1967, 28 Inwood locals, and this is only a small neighbourhood, 28 Inwood locals had been killed in Vietnam, most of them in their late teens or early 20s. So real brutal. So I think this is all of this wrapped up into them being like, and the protesters have been pretty rough on these soldiers. Chickie thought the colonel was joking with his idea, going over for a beer run to war. He's like, you can't be serious. But then he realised, no, he was dead serious.
Wow.
And the colonel, he was like, I'm going to do it myself. He asked Chickie for his semen card.
Look, don't ask any questions, but I need your semen card.
Which is like, it's an ID that was pretty much used as a passport, and for people who were qualified could get work on ships, travel
Right.
around the world. They didn't even need a passport, but it was a photo ID and stuff. And Chickie's like,
That's not going to work.
It's not going to work. Firstly, you don't look like me. He's like, I've got red hair and you're 10 years older. And even if you did get a job, you don't know how to do that work.
Yeah.
So he's like, that's not going to work. And then he thought about it a little bit more, maybe had a few more beers. And he started to think, maybe he was the man for the job. After all, he was a merchant mariner and he had his seaman's card. He could get a job on a ship heading to Vietnam and make this audacious plan a reality. By the following day, word of the plan had gotten around the community. Chickie went back to the bar, got a big cheer from the crowd as he entered. They were like, he's going to do it. He's going to go say hi to our boys for us. He was having second thoughts though. He's like, what did I fucking sign
Not
up
fair.
for?
When the bar starts cheering,
Yeah.
you're carried up onto the bar. Chickie. You can't say, I've had second thoughts.
Yeah.
This
I
is
actually think this
ridiculous.
might not be a good idea.
We love you, Chickie.
Yeah, and when you wake up with a bit of a regret, I woke up the other week, I'd sent a nice email to someone I don't know that well, but I'd had a few drinks, and I think I was like overly nice, and I woke up the next day like, oh no, what did I do? Imagine, and I woke up with big regret about sending a nice email. I can't imagine waking up having suggested you would sneak into a war.
You thought you were too nice. What's the consequence of that?
Oh, just when you open up a bit too much,
Yeah.
to someone who you don't know that well yet.
I love to be earned. No, I don't at all. It's gross.
Yeah, I mean, I thought at the time I was being
Yeah, just the right amount of nice.
Yeah.
But you were too nice.
Or yeah, that's the fear. But I think that part of the hangover is also like,
Yeah.
it's a dropping away of self-confidence and other things as well.
Yep.
So the locals are excited. They're cheering him on. So he's like, all right, I guess I'm going to do it. And he started compiling a list. So there were a few people with, their sons were over there. It's like, you got to go say hi to my son. And he knew all these people. He compiled the list, and they also gave him, their unit numbers or whatever. And that's all he had. So the list was Tommy Collins, Joey McFadden, Rich Reynolds, Kevin McClune, Rick Duggan, and Bobby Pappas.
Oh, some good names in there.
Yeah, love them all.
It was a small, close-knit community. Chickie knew all of these guys well. So, Bobby Pappas, for instance, was one of his best mates growing up, but he knew them all. Some of them were younger brothers of his mates and whatever. So he was now up for the mission, but he had great doubts that he'd even be able to pull it off. Like, what are the odds that I can get to Vietnam on a ship probably if I get the right job, but what are the odds that I can just walk into a war zone?
Oh, my God.
The next day, he went down to the National Maritime Union Hall to go about getting a job on a Vietnam-bound ship. In the hiring hall, a board listed the ships that were in the port and what positions were vacant. So there'd be, a big chalkboard or whatever, lists of the different boats. I don't even think it said the destinations, but it said, we need an oiler or we need a, whatever.
Any
a cook.
podcast jobs going?
We need a podcast trio.
We only go as a 3.
That's right. I'll never leave you.
Dave, you do have to leave my house at some point today, though.
I will not.
Okay.
I refuse.
All right, I'll get the fold-out bed for you.
Thank you. Please, fold it out.
Every time. I try.
So accommodating, Bob.
Well,
this is why he doesn't get the in.
I haven't paid rent in months.
I don't know how to say no to him. He's so cute.
All his stuff's in storage.
I don't think he has a home.
Yeah, dude. Right here. With the 3 of us.
Where do you think I go at night?
You go for a long walk. For about a week at a time.
So he's got this big board showing jobs that are vacant, what ships are in. Then he went in and there was also someone would come out and call out for ships. This ship's in the this ship's docking.
Ships, do you want them? We got them. We got ships.
You get a ship.
So someone came out and the call came out. The Drake Victory is short an oiler. And this was a job that Chickie was qualified for. He was qualified for a few different jobs.
Cool.
He'd done a few different jobs, and oiler was one of them. Basically just oiling in the end, working in the engine room. Lubing it up. Keeping it oiled.
Just a lubing seaman.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The Drake was a refurbished World War II ship. Its job was delivering ammunition to the American forces in Vietnam.
Okay, that's where he wants to go.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the ship was leaving imminently. And Chickie got the gig. They were about to leave short one oiler, and he goes, I could do that. And they're like, all right, but we're going now.
You'll have to swim. They left half an hour ago.
Someone get the dinghy. How fast can you canoe?
Just watching a man canoe after a big
No, what they
tanker.
do is they put him on a missile and they shoot him to the boat from another boat.
So they shoot a missile at the ammunition-filled boat.
Yeah,
no,
perfect.
it's a blank one, though.
It's a blank one.
It's a blank one.
And also they shoot it just to the left.
Yeah.
And he just has to jump off at the
And
right
he
time.
veers a little bit left to really make sure.
Yeah.
He puts he's still got an oar. And he paddles to the left to make sure it.
He's paddling.
He's got a paddle in one hand and a 6-pack for the boys under the other.
Yeah.
6-pack for the boys.
So I'm coming, Tommy Donohue. Whatever the name is.
Yeah, he forgot that he said one of his friends' first names and his surname. He was losing it. I'm coming, Tommy Donohue. I'm a seaman and I'm... So he got the gig, but he didn't have enough time to head home to pack. So he quickly rushed to a nearby shop and bought a razor and some socks.
What more do you need? That's how I travel.
Well, yeah, he purchased one other thing. He went to a bar and bought a mixed slab of local New York beers, including brands such as Pabst Blue Ribbon, Schaefer, Schlitz, Peels, Ballantine, and Rheingold. He then saw a payphone and made a quick call to his parents to let them know he was heading off for a while. When they asked where he was going, he replied vaguely saying Asia. He'd been to Vietnam before. He didn't want to worry his parents were saying, "Oh, I'm just sneaking into a war." And even when he was there, when he served, he never really saw action. He was on the perimeter of the war. He was sort of, I think, I don't know, maybe he was just stayed on the boat or whatever, but he didn't go inland at all. Anyway, with that, he hopped on the Drake and less than 48 hours after the Colonel floated this wild idea, set sail for Vietnam.
Whoa.
Isn't that wild?
That is.
With a pair of socks and a razor.
Yeah. That's all. Like, the clothes on his back.
He checks in there. They're like, what?
One spare pair of socks now and a razor to have a shave.
No spare jocks.
Yeah.
No spare jocks.
Where's
no
your
change
stuff?
of clothes.
I don't have any stuff. And then he's got this slab of beers and then just doesn't drink them.
Doesn't
Can he
well,
not-
it's funny. He's told the story differently a couple times already, because sometimes he says he drank them on the way over, but I think officially in his book anyway, he stores them in right at the back of the ship's fridge and leaves them there for the.
Oh, so they're
trip.
cold. That's good.
Nice.
Can he, surely he could buy clothes and stuff on the boat? Warships have.
Yeah, it's a P&O warship.
Yeah, it's like there's like a kiosk. There's like a little clothing
So
shop.
like
Little
souvenirs.
gambling
exactly.
area.
It might be
Yeah.
it might not be his taste, but he'd at least be able to get a couple of t-shirts.
You might have
or
to wear a
something.
magnet or something.
You might have to wear a magnet.
Yeah.
Or a tea towel or something.
Yeah, that's right.
But tea towels can make very good underwear
Well,
in a
they've only
pinch.
got-
He could fashion some
Only
tea
extra
towel
small or extra large Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
So up to you.
Yeah, that'll do. So after a brief stopover in Panama, I think they went across the Panama Canal.
Oh.
I said that right.
Panama.
Yes.
You didn't
Oh,
say
yeah.
canal this time.
I can't help if I read it, and I read it in this book a few times. My brain just wants to say canal.
Maybe it's because you also heard it in this book a few times.
Yeah, that helped. Maybe I'm learning. Eh? Like
Proud of you.
I'm like a learning robot. That's what I think of myself as.
Yeah.
So after a brief stopover in Panama, they sailed across the Pacific Ocean to Vietnam. The trip was relatively excitement-free, apart from when the ship caught fire. And when you're sailing on a ship carrying 10,000 tons of ammunition, fire is not ideal.
Yeah, especially if you're the oil guy.
Yeah.
You're probably covered in flammable liquids.
So there was smoke coming out, and they were trying to figure out where it was coming from. Apparently before that, they were fighting over who did what duties and stuff. But he's like, when we saw that fire, we all worked as a team to put it out. And he said there were no arguments after that for the rest of the trip. The crew worked in shifts, 4 hours on, 8 hours off, 4 hours on, 8 hours off, over and over for weeks on end. And Chickie pulled many double shifts. So he was doing 8 hours on, 8 hours off or whatever. Or probably 8 hours on, 4 hours off if he's doing double shifts. Then on January 19th, 1968, after 8 weeks at sea, the Drake Victory dropped anchor in South Vietnam's Quy Nhon Harbour. Despite being docked in the harbour, the seamen were still required to work their shifts because they had to keep the ship maintained. He had to keep oiling that engine. Had to be
Keep oiling.
Keep oiling it. But with all his double shifts, he'd banked up enough favours to cover 3 days away if he could get permission. Chickie naively thought 3 days would be enough time for him to find his friends.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
what-
it sounds alright. 3 days. How
half-
big can Vietnam be?
yeah,
Well,
half
I
a
mean, it's
day.
only South Vietnam as well.
Ah.
What is it? We're talking about half a day per person.
Yeah.
Easy.
That
You
should be fine.
you come to Australia, you're in Victoria,
Mm.
right? Second smallest state. Easy peasy. You got 3 days to find 6 people, no problem. No fucking problem, mate.
Yeah.
Easy.
I mean, you know their regiment numbers or whatever.
Yeah, how hard can it be?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I take back that question. I think it's easy.
So-
2 days. He was taking a leisurely stroll
Yeah. Third day's for vacation.
for rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when he buys souvenirs and whatnot.
Magnets, etc.
Yeah. He needs new clothes.
So there was no plan. He didn't know where they were. I mean, he knew they were in South Vietnam.
Great. I mean, you just narrowed down. There's about 200 other countries they're not in.
Yeah, that's
Easy.
right.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
It doesn't even have waste time there.
I'm in the right area.
Yeah. He also didn't have a change of clothes, as we've discussed. All he had was what he was wearing, a pair of jeans and a short sleeve button-up check shirt.
And he's been wearing it for 8 weeks.
Yes. In the book he wrote, I'd thrown on clothes I knew would be cool in the ship's engine room, and I hadn't really planned out a travel wardrobe for Vietnam. Just hadn't really thought about it. I mean, it happened really quick since he got the job he just didn't have a lot of time to think about it. He sought permission from the ship's captain to take 3 days leave. He had to spin a story about how his stepbrother was in Vietnam serving, and he needed to give him some sad news and wanted to do it face to face. The captain grilled him, gave him a bit of a hard time, thought he was maybe full of shit, but in the end, he said, you can go on the strict condition you're back on the ship in 3 days' time, 8 a.m. sharp.
Okay.
He's like, and don't get killed. I can't be bothered with the paperwork.
Love that.
Oh, that's a great scene.
So with his backpack, with beer, socks and a razor, Chickie headed out into Vietnam. The first Americans he saw were some military police whose job it was to guard American ships in the harbour. He noticed that their helmets had the insignias of the 127th MP Company. Checking his list, he realised it was Tommy Collins's unit.
No.
He asked the soldiers if they knew Collins, and they did, saying they were about to relieve his shift.
Are you kidding me?
So freaking lucky. Due to security reasons, the seamen on the Drake Victory weren't told where they'd be docking in Vietnam. But out of pure coincidence, they landed right on the doorstep of the first man on his list. Top of the list, Tommy Collins. He found him within...
seconds.
Yeah, that's right. He couldn't believe it, and when he called out to his New York buddy, Tommy Collins couldn't believe it either. He asked what the hell Chickie was doing there, and Chickie handed him a beer saying, quote, "This is from the Colonel and me and all the guys in Doc Fiddlers. We all talked about it, and we decided that somebody ought to come over here and buy you guys a drink in appreciation for what you're doing. Well, here I am."
You'd be like, okay, I've died and I'm in a dream. This is what the hell.
Apparently Tommy was gobsmacked. He's like, what the hell is going on?
I think that's a fair reaction.
Then he opened the beer, knocked it down in one go.
And is Tommy having a beer with him? Cheers?
Chickie.
Chickie. Sorry. Is Chickie having a...
Yeah, I think, they're sharing the beers. And then Chickie took Tommy and some of his soldier mates out to a bar that night, and they drank and caught up until the bar closed. Then they went back to the barracks and drank and sang Irish folk songs into the wee hours. Then, all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, they're causing a bit of a ruckus. A lieutenant comes out yelling at them, asking, "What the hell are you doing? People trying to sleep. You're all drunk here. What's going on?" Tommy and the others snapped to attention as well as they could in their inebriated condition. But Chickie was feeling cheeky, and he snapped back, "Lieutenant, on what authority are you questioning these men? We're on a particular mission here tonight, and I suggest you return to your barracks."
Chickie, you cheeky bastard.
Somehow, to the surprise of all involved, this worked.
Oh my God.
Chickie had no idea why, but later, after other high-ranking officials paid him similar unearned respect, someone explained to him, "They think you're CIA. Because why the hell else would you be here? In jeans and a plaid shirt, no less."
You couldn't be some sort of... You're not a tourist, are you?
So right, they're all thinking he's on some secret business. He's undercover, sort of just getting around. And that's so... It happened on numerous occasions that high-ranking soldiers just let him go about whatever he was doing. And that was a big part. He just sort of lucked onto this, but that was a big part of how he was able to make his way around Vietnam.
That is amazing.
Bright and early the next morning, Chickie continued on his journey. Amazingly, while at the bar the night before, he noticed a big Texan sergeant who wore a similar insignia of one of the other men on his list, Rick Duggan. The Texan didn't know Duggan, but knew his Bravo company was up in An Cay, and he offered to fly Chickie up there on a mail run the next morning. What? Which was now when it was. He's like, "Hey, I can fly you up." And he's like, "I don't have any papers," because you needed to show papers to travel inside Vietnam, and especially on army planes and whatever.
Look, fair.
And he didn't have those, obviously.
Huh.
But the Texan was like, "That's all right. I'll take you up anyway." They flew around 40 miles northwest, and Chickie jumped out with the bags of mail before the Texan took off again. So he just jumped out, the mail was dumped, and the Texan sergeant flew. Unfortunately, the Bravo company and Duggan had already left An Cay that morning, though, so his luck had run out a little here.
Damn.
Yeah, so it was so close to just going bang, bang, but he'd missed them by a couple of hours. Chickie was told they'd headed north closer to the demilitarized zone at the North Vietnam border. This was around 200 miles away from where Chickie found himself. There were still a few soldiers around packing down the camp, including a tent with a sergeant who was about a mile away, he was told. So Chickie hiked up there, And he found a sergeant who took pity on him when he spun a story about Duggan being his stepbrother and that he needed to talk to him. That was the story he told generally. He would be more honest with lower, like, privates and lower
Yeah,
ranked
just here for a
soldiers.
couple of beers with the boys, and then, no, he's my stepbrother.
But then
Yeah.
I've got terrible news that I simply must tell him.
So the sergeant agreed to let him fly up to see Duggan, despite the fact he didn't have the right papers, obviously, or any business being in the war zone at all. All Chickie had to do to get on this plane was hike back to the airfield before it took off within an hour. So he had to sort of rush back now. And he was hurrying along in the recently abandoned area, which to me is like, that's pretty eerie in itself.
Yeah.
He's down a dirt road in the jungle.
Was he on foot?
On foot. And he's, he's no one knows he's there really.
Yeah.
He's all alone. He doesn't know what's going on in the areas around him either. He doesn't know why everyone's abandoned that space.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything. So he's sort of doing a power walk down the dirt road to try and catch this plane when a Jeep approached. And so Chickie asked if he could hitch a ride. This is how we got around. It was all hitching either cars or planes or helicopters. The driver said, "Holy Christ, Chick, what the hell?"
Get fucked.
It was Kevin McClune, another friend from the list.
Get absolutely fucked.
This is true. This is amazing.
Have you read a novel?
It was in the fiction section, which I thought was weird.
Wow.
He explained the trip and handed Kevin a beer.
Kevin's like, I'm driving.
Okay, so I'll hold the beer for you. Let me know when you want a sip.
I think Kevin said something like, "Ooh, do I dare drink and drive?" And then laughed. And
Just
Oh,
kidding.
I don't know if I could. Just kidding.
I'm in a war.
And all-
What's the
Yes.
worst could happen?
Is everyone else on the Jeep like, are there beers for us?
Yeah,
or-
the other two guys got beers, and they were like, "What the fuck? What the hell's going
I just
on?"
picked up a dude who gave us
They couldn't
beers.
believe it either. Like, they were like, "What?" And then he tells the story, and they're like, "You're kidding!" Like everyone, this isn't like in the '60s, this sort of stuff was done. Everyone there was like, "This is fucking wild."
Yeah.
So they had a bit of a catch up. Chickie was able to fill in Kevin on what was going back home, and but Chickie was stunned. He's like, "The clock's ticking now." He'd been there a day by this stage, and he only had 2 more days.
Yeah, but he'd already found
He'd already found
two
two,
of them,
a
and
third of his list.
Third on the way.
Yeah, and but he's like, I've really got to keep going. I need to catch this plane. Would you be able to get me there? And he's like, no worries. And Kevin fanged it apparently. Took him to the plane. They said their goodbyes and they're like, oh, amazing. This is real cool. So he got on the plane. 2 young GIs were also on board, and he asked if they knew his friend Rick Duggan. They did. They were in the same company. I mean, this is less of a coincidence because he knew this plane was going to where where Duggan was. But then, so they were a couple of privates, I think, or lower ranking soldiers. So he told the truth. He's like, I'm over here. I'm delivering a beer to Duggan. And one of them was like, that is sick, man. But the other one, who was quite young, he apparently didn't want to have anything to do with him after that. He's like, this sounds like trouble. I'm not involved in this.
Like, yeah, I can understand that, I guess.
Once they landed, they were still a fair way from the final destination, but he knew that if he followed the 2 GIs, they'd lead him straight to Duggan. When he tried to catch a helicopter to landing zone Jane, a corporal asked for his rank. They're like, you got to sign in a document to get on the planes. He said, my name's Chickie Donohue. And he's like, and rank? He said, civilian. And the corporal was like, what? And he got suspicious. He's like, why would you be here? And he said, oh, look, you're going to have to... I'm not the highest ranking officer here. I can't okay this. You're going to have to talk to the major. He's sort of like going, this isn't my problem. I don't want to deal with this. So I'll let Chickie take the story up from here, from his book. The major turned to me and said, you want to go to LZ Jane, landing zone Jane? Where are you coming from? From down south, sir, I said. I've got to see someone at LZ Jane. I wasn't keeping it vague on purpose, but it worked in my favour. I see, said the major, and he gave me a knowing look. It was the CIA effect, working its magic again.
Oh my
I
God.
gotta see someone wink wink.
It's like all he's saying, I need to shit. Yeah. Got to see a man about it. I've got to see someone at landing zone Jane. Say no more.
Yeah, it's a code brown, sir.
Roger that.
So the major replies, okay, right, I understand. And he turned to the corporal, said, Corporal, put Mr. Donohue on the list. And then he turned back to Chickie, said, did you eat yet? And I said I hadn't. So the major put his arm around me, led me to the mess tent, and we dined together.
What?
During the meal, he told me about what they'd been up to up there. I couldn't believe I was sitting there dining with a major. I went into the Marines a private, and 4 years later, I came out a private. But I was a 4-star general when it came to slinging BS. At one point, he leaned over and asked furtively, can you tell me a little bit about what's going on? Sure, I'd be glad to, I said. See, I have a stepbrother Rick who's in Bravo Company, and I'm going to bring him a beer. With that, the major burst into laughter and shook his head. You guys from Saigon are all alike, he said. You keep everything to yourselves.
Yeah, you see, I came here all the way from New York to give a guy a beer.
Yeah. Good one.
Hey, if you don't want to tell me, you don't want to tell me.
Yeah, I shouldn't have asked.
Don't have to make up crazy stories. That's a good one, sir.
That's amazing.
So I guess CIA was based in Saigon, or what's now Ho Chi Minh City. Saigon was the capital of South Vietnam.
Yeah.
From dinner, Chickie headed straight to the helicopter to catch his flight. On board, another little quirky tale occurred, and I'll let Chickie tell this one too. This one's pretty silly, but I thought worth telling. I thought you'd get a little kick out of it.
Okay. We'll see.
Let's see.
I want to get a little chick out of it.
So this is Chickie. You fly with the doors wide open, and I have to admit, about halfway to Pleiku, I was scared. We were headed to Hai Lang up in Quang Tri province, less than an hour away from the demilitarized zone. We were not over friendly territory. Now, a little thing I did not know about choppers is how much the wind rushes inward. And I must confess, I passed gas. The pilots and the GIs made a big deal out of it. I guess it was bad. So the pilot cut off the engine. He yelled, okay, everybody out now. This is unbearable. And we started to drop.
What?
I thought we were going to crash into enemy territory. I was totally freaking out. Then the pilots looked at each other and started roaring with laughter. They turned the engine back on and we swooped up. They'd been busting my chops.
I mean, how bad does...
Prank!
Good one. I thought we were going to die. Prank. How bad does your fart have to be? The air rushing in from the outside doesn't blow. You know, when you pull down the window in the car and it's enough. But that's a hell of a fart, Chickie.
I think he shat his pants.
I think maybe some of that dinner he had with the major was that
Yeah, that's right.
didn't sit right.
No, in fairness, this is a man who's been wearing the same underwear for 10 weeks at this point.
And is also living on a diet of beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be pretty rough stuff, I think.
Prank.
But also, like, you're in a war. Should we be pranking? You know what I mean?
It's actually like
Let's not turn the engines off. Let's not.
just plummeting from the sky.
Prank.
All right, that's it. This fart is so bad, I'm going to kill us all.
Everybody out.
Everybody out is funny.
Yeah, that is good.
All right, everybody out.
That's good stuff.
That fart has made me welcome death.
We've all had farts that have made us welcome death, okay?
Yeah.
Well, on that fun note, we'll be back right after this message. All right, so he's caught the plane, done a big fart, had his chops busted.
Yeah.
And then when they arrived in Quang Tri province, a sergeant major greeted them, and they asked the two GIs he was with, who's this guy? Who's the stinky
Who the fuck
man?
is this?
Who's
guy
this
stinks.
increasingly stinky
This guy smells like shit. Who the fuck is he?
Did you fart?
The young, wary GI replied, I don't know. I don't have anything to do with him. He's just been following us.
Come
He's
on.
just like, so
I've never seen that man before in my life.
Luckily, when Chickie told his story and how he was there to give Duggan a beer, the sergeant major found it hilarious and wanted to play along.
Yeah. You CIA boys.
Okay, give a beer. All right.
Despite now being in a particularly dangerous part of the war zone, so they're right up north, getting a lot closer to the border of North and South Vietnam. The sergeant major called Duggan back to the base. He was out on patrol, and he radioed. He said, hey, come back. There's someone who needs to see you. I need you back here. And then he got Chickie to hide in a foxhole, put a tarp over him. When Duggan got back, he was like, you needed to see me? And Sergeant Major said, I don't need to see you. And he pulled the canvas off. He said, but he does.
Oh my God.
Another prank.
So many places you could hide.
And then apparently everyone cracked up. And Duggan was like, what the hell? Chickie, what are you doing here? I don't understand it. Duggan was like, what am I meant to do with him? And Sergeant Major replied, take him with you. He's your problem now. All I know is he can't be here. Rick looked at Chickie and handed him a poncho and said, put this on. That outfit is like wearing a sign that says, shoot me, I'm from New York. That night, Chickie slept in a foxhole on the very outer perimeter of their base. Through the night, Duggan and the others took turns keeping watch. So this is like real serious business. They were out there checking the perimeter in shifts. Chickie didn't. He was.
Chickie's like, I'm a civilian. I can't, mate. I can't.
One of the others handed him a gun, like just in case. And Chickie's like, I don't want that. You know, I'm more likely to accidentally shoot someone than do any good with it.
Yeah.
But he was like, I can't sleep. He's like, when they handed him the gun, like the gravity of it all sunk in. He's like, holy shit.
It took him that long to realise that he'd actively gone to a war zone to deliver beers.
There were some of these other soldiers are like, hang on a second. You don't have to be here and you are? What are you doing? Anyway, he couldn't sleep. Whereas his mate, Rick Duggan, he's like, how do you sleep here knowing what's going on? And Duggan's like, you get 4 hours at a time to sleep, so you sleep. And he like fell asleep straight away. He just knew he had to, I guess. I guess it gets normalized in time.
Yeah.
And he was probably just a badass as well. In the night, members of the North Vietnamese army were spotted on the perimeter, and Duggan and the other soldiers snapped into action. Chickie was handed the only spare weapon they had, a grenade launcher.
Seconds ago, he's like, if you give me this gun, I don't know what to do.
I might
with
hurt
it.
somebody. I couldn't.
Here's a grenade launcher.
And he was in the Marines for 4 years.
That's
true,
He knew how to use a gun, but he was just, I think he was a lover, he didn't want to.
Okay,
I'm a beer delivery boy, okay?
The only weapon we've got, here's the keys to that tank.
Do
you know how to drive a stick?
Yeah, it's a little sticky in third gear.
Oh my God, a grenade launcher. Sorry. That's very funny.
That's so good.
But he didn't use it. He just laid low and let the gunfight happen, which it did. There was machine gun fire coming in both directions.
Whoa.
And it raged on. He was like, it went on for ages. But they all made it through to the morning alive. At least people on his side. I guess he didn't know what happened on the northern side. Then Chickie went out with Duggan and his crew as they did an inspection around the area to make sure no one was there or whatever. Then hiked back to the base. That night they shared some of the beers. So Duggan was like, glad you're here, but we can't drink the beers out here. We got to do some pretty important work and we can't be a little tipsy. But the next night they were back in the center of the base and others were on the perimeter. So
But is that the final night?
And he's only found 3 of them.
Which, in hindsight,
still incredible
he found anyone at all.
Oh my God. And how quickly he found them. Insane.
Yeah. The next morning, Duggan was being sent off to another location, so they said their goodbyes. Duggan's like, you can't come with me this time, and you probably don't want to anyway, because it's only getting more hectic from here. It had now been 4 days since Chickie left the ship, and he was meant to be back in 3. So he jumped on the only available helicopter. Duggan hooked it up. He's like, I need to help get this guy out of here. And he's like, where's this one heading? And it was heading east. He's like, I need to go south to get back to my ship. And Duggan was like, well, beggers can't be choosers here.
Yeah, get on the helicopter.
Just get the hell out of here because this
is
going to
be... is what he said.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not a tumor. What? That doesn't make any sense.
So he jumped on that plane, headed east, then he got on another plane and ended up in Phuket. Now getting desperate to get back to his ship, he decided to walk the final 17 miles. It was night time.
Oh my God.
The base he arrived at, they're like, you can't make it there tonight. You can grab a bunk and sleep. He went to the bunk. He's like, I could not sleep. I was too nervous about getting back to the ship. So he got up, and in darkness, he headed off down a dirt road.
What the fucking hell?
He only made it about a mile down there, and a woman saw him and did a blood-curdling scream.
Jesus.
And he's like, oh, this doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right. A woman sees you and screams.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting instinct he's had.
And so he decided to turn back. He said he's never forgotten that scream and the feeling that he was the reason for the scream. Like, he feels awful about it. The next day, he was glad he turned back. He went back, slept in the bunk. He's like, all right, I'll have to try in the morning. He hitched a ride in a Jeep down that same dirt road, and he was glad he didn't carry on foot the night before, because he realised, and he was told, that at night time, the Viet Cong are in that strip. Like, they're all over it at the night time. No Americans go down that. That's sort of a no-go zone at night time. And as he went down, he's like, oh, I'm just looking at all these spots where I could have easily been captured. And
oh, my God.
He's like, if I got caught, at best, I don't get killed, and I'm a prisoner of war for years after that. So he's like, just thanking his lucky stars.
Oof.
So he headed back to the Queen Non port in the relative safety of the Jeep. But when he arrived, he found that the Drake Victory had left without him.
No, they didn't wait even a day.
It was ahead of schedule, and they apparently, it's the biggest no-no to do is to go missing from your ship and not come back on time.
Right.
They're like, they wait for no man sort of thing.
Luckily, he didn't leave all of his clothes and everything on there because he didn't have anything anyway.
He's still got his socks.
He's got his socks and a razor.
They did a head count. They counted 17 seamen. And they're like, it's basically 18.
Yeah.
He found out that his ship was on its way back to America via Manila in the Philippines. So he went about figuring out a way to catch up with it. Unfortunately, though, he was about to get bogged down in bureaucracy. He was told he needed a visa to be able to leave the country, and that to get a visa, he needed a passport, which he didn't have. He's like, how quickly can I get this? I'm trying to catch up with my ship. They're like, it takes as long as it takes. Could be 2, 3, 4 days. We don't know. And he's like, oh, all right. So by this point, he had to get to Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City, the capital, to get all this done. That's where the American embassy was. Mm. He tried to catch a ride down on a plane, but was refused as he didn't have the right papers, as he never did. This hadn't been an issue much before, but that was mainly because of the whole CIA effect.
Yeah.
But what if I told you I work for the CIA?
That's not what a CIA person would say. They'd say they were delivering a beer to a friend.
I know the code.
He reckons that the mistake he made was he said, I've got to get to the embassy. And they're like, the embassy? What? That's a weird thing for a CIA person to say. And he reckons that's what made them think he was actually just a weird civilian. Luckily, he found a pilot that took pity on him. The pilot was like, all right, look, don't tell anyone, but once I board the plane, there's a bunch of other people getting on. If I give you a signal, a hand signal, come on, don't say anything, sit down and shut up.
Okay. What was the signal like? Fuck off. Don't get on.
Don't get on the plane. Yeah.
Flipping the bird. Don't. And he's like, the signal, great.
Yeah. As he boarded the plane, the pilot whispered to him, just do me one favour. When you get to Saigon, have a bath.
He said that?
Yeah. And he said, okay, thank you so much.
He must have smelled so bad.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause it's a very sweaty sort of jungle climate that he's been walking through. Oh, my God.
And he does not have any clothes.
No.
2 pairs of socks, though.
Yeah.
So at least he's got a sock rotation.
So you're not getting trench foot.
Do you think you're putting, like, 1 pair of socks on your feet and a sock on your dick?
Sock on your cock.
Damn it! Why'd I say dick?
Red Hot Chili Pepper style.
Yeah. Sock cock. Cock sock. Once in Saigon / Ho Chi Minh City, he went to the American embassy and started the slow process of getting a passport, which would then allow him to get a visa, which would then allow him to make it back, fly to Manila and catch up with his ship. As he was in the Maritime Union, he received $40 a day while he was stranded there, so he could at least afford basic food and rent. in the time there. So he was like so glad I was in the union.
Yeah.
If he was there, not being a part of the union, he would have had to find work or battled away to survive. However,
So
he could.
yeah, in this case, he could actually have a bath.
Yes.
Thank God.
Yeah, I think he said he did that. He kept his promise and he had a bath.
That's good.
He settled into life in the South Vietnam capital, socialising, enjoying the bars. He talked a bit about this bar that was run by Australians. He had a great time there. He sort of spent his time all around the city. He eventually found a less touristy part of the city where he could get cheaper rent. He's like, it was beautiful. It was an amazing, colourful city. Then he started the process of getting his visa. He had to first wait for the passport. Took a week, but it arrived. Then he got the visa. The guy at the embassy who was helping him was like, it cost $900 to get a visa. And it's kind of sounded like it was basically an official bribe to the South Vietnam government. And he's like, I don't have $900. And the guy at the embassy went and got the cash. Apparently the US embassy would give the cash. He didn't give him the cash, but someone from the embassy went with him to pay for the visa.
Whoa.
Which was lucky, obviously. I guess they were like, we'd prefer you to get out of here as well.
Yeah.
Frankly, we're embarrassed you made it in.
Yeah. This does not look good for us.
Please don't write a book about this.
He wanted to find the other guys on his list, but unfortunately, he needed to check in with the consulate each day to find out when his visa got there to have any chance of getting to Manila and catching up with his ship. So he had to stay local. Finally, after checking in at the consulate each day, his visa arrived. The clerk then said, that's the good news. Unfortunately, the bad news is your ship has already left Manila. And he was like, yeah, I probably could have guessed that. This took fucking ages.
This red tape.
Thanks a lot.
Luckily, though, the clerk said another ship was going to be leaving Manila in a few days, and he'd organised with the captain to take Chickie on, and they had a flight booked to Manila for him the next morning. So he was
Brilliant.
And again, a bit of luck. He's had a couple of bits of bad luck, but mainly he's had a very lucky run.
Yeah, he's had a bit of a dream run, and people have been quite helpful.
Yeah, that's right.
Sounds like he's a bit of a friendly and fun guy. So
Yeah.
People like him straight away.
Apparently, in his neighbourhood in New York, he's just known by everyone, and everyone seems to really like
Yeah.
him. It's just that kind of guy, I guess, which, is probably what helps get you around in these sort of scenarios. So he was very relieved. He's like, all right. So I've got to sleep tonight, get up in the morning, I'm on my way home. I didn't see all the guys, but I saw some, and, it's amazing what I've done.
Great.
He decided to go out to celebrate his last night in Vietnam. By chance, Saigon was ready to party with him as it was their New Year's. According to Chickie, it was the Lunar New Year, which lasts for days. They told me it was called Tet, and that it's a bigger deal than ours. The Vietnamese travel back to their home villages and visit family and honour their ancestors. The reporters hanging out at the Caravel bar, that's the Aussie one, I think, had told it. So, yeah, he'd hang out with the journalists who were there covering the story and all that sort of stuff. They talk about this as the TV war because I think the US Army has now stopped that from happening, but the reporters were sort of roaming free, and there was a lot of coverage going back into America. So, talking to the journalists at the bar, they told us that Ho Chi Minh and General Giap had sought a Tet holiday truce and that President Johnson had agreed to it. Lyndon B agreeing to a truce. Chickie got back to his accommodation at 3 a.m. He had organised for a wake-up call at 5 a.m.
Oh, no, Chickie.
So he went out partying. It was New Year's Eve. There was a bit of atmosphere around.
What do you want him to do, Dave? Go to bed early? Get a good night's sleep? Have a bath? Come on, you're being unreasonable.
I don't know, Chickie.
I mean, he got back 2 hours before he was meant to wake up.
Yeah.
That's something. So, yeah, he had a wake-up call at 5 a.m. and was going to get a lift to the US Embassy for his flight to Manila. He tried to get a couple of hours of sleep before having to head off, but the New Year's Eve fireworks were so loud he was unable.
They're still going at 3, 4 a.m.
Yeah. He tried for an hour and he's like, it's so loud I can't even sleep. Then something shattered through his window. With that, he jumped up. He's like, if the New Year's Eve partying is this wild, the traffic's going to be a nightmare. So he's like, I'm just going to get up and go now. When he found the hotel manager, he seemed flustered. He yelled something in Korean, which Chickie didn't quite understand. Then the manager started yelling in French, "Beaucoup VC, beaucoup VC." Chickie was confused. He knew it meant something like a lot of Viet Cong. Viet Cong were sort of on the other side to the Americans. But he'd been out only hours before and seen no VC anywhere, no Viet Cong anywhere. And anyway, they were in the middle of a truce. Well, it turned out the truce was bogus. What Chickie didn't know was he was now right in the middle of the Tet Offensive.
Oh, my God.
According to Britannica, the Tet Offensive consisted of simultaneous attacks by some 85,000 troops under the direction of the North Vietnamese government. The attacks were carried out against 5 major South Vietnamese cities, dozens of military installations, and scores of towns and villages throughout South Vietnam. The offensive was a crushing tactical defeat for the North, but it struck a sharp psychological blow that eroded support for the war among the American public and political establishment. So it was sort of it as an offensive in itself, it was a failure.
Yeah.
A lot of people died on both sides, more on the North Vietnamese side, but it did end up sort of, it's seen as one of the big things that ended up starting the Americans on the path to leaving the war or trying to organise peace or whatever. I felt like the Tet Offensive feels like it's a whole episode in itself.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Even maybe, it did make me think. I don't know that much about. I knew even less about the Vietnam War before now. It might make an interesting episode. Perhaps it's obviously very complicated, like every war is. But I did knock out World War One in a couple of episodes. So
Yeah.
you never know.
How could it be?
So there was chaos on the streets, but the gravity of the situation hadn't really sunk in with Chickie. He didn't realise still that what had actually happened. He was making his way to the embassy, and in his mind, all he had to do was get there, and he'd be on his way to Manila, then back home. But he soon found out the embassy had been taken by the Viet Cong. There would be no flight to Manila for Chickie.
Shit.
So the embassy was this. It was like he talked about it like it was a guarded like a castle. He's like it had everything but a moat. So you would have thought it was impenetrable.
Yeah.
But it was pretty lightly guarded, and I think it was like 17 Viet Cong soldiers were able to take it over.
Whoa.
Chickie spent the night on the streets, hiding behind trees and other nooks and crannies. His hotel and that area around it had also been taken by the Viet Cong.
Shit.
So he was sort of now, he had nowhere to go, nowhere safe to go. So he's hiding. He found this spot in this little nook in a wall, and he stayed there for hours as he's hearing fire going back and forth.
And were there fireworks that he was hearing before actually gunfire?
Yes, that's right. So he's not being able to sleep because he thinks it's fire. He's like, geez, they're partying hard.
keep it
not
down
realising
out
it was
there.
actually gunfire.
Whoa.
He somehow made it through the night, and with his plans to escape via Manila now dashed, Chickie was destined to live in Saigon a little longer. The US military knew something was happening prior to the Tet Offensive, apparently. According to Chickie, the US military leadership had received intelligence that something big was about to happen, but it underestimated how big. Apparently there was the Tet Offensive, the communications were a bit off, and some cities were attacked the night before. There was confusion about what night it was meant to happen. And even still, apparently, the US Army were underprepared for it, even though they kind of had this tip-off.
And they were like, oh. Anyway, still better party for New Year's Eve.
Yeah, apparently they only put one extra soldier on the US Embassy to guard it.
Good.
Even though they knew something was about to happen. This is all from Chickie, who was there. He goes on, the death toll in the 2-month period of Tet from January 29 through March 31, 1968 was 3,895 American servicemen, 14,300 civilians, 4,954 South Vietnamese soldiers, 214 allies, and 58,373 North Vietnamese and Viet Cong forces.
Fucking hell, that's so many people.
Yeah.
In a 2-month period.
That's right. And it was apparently it was quite a departure for the North Vietnamese tactically. They were it was really they were doing guerrilla warfare. This was them going out in the open, and this was the first time that so many of them died. And so it was really just they were sending them out there for the slaughter, hoping for the tactical win of like the propaganda war almost. They were hoping that the South Vietnamese would uprise and join the communist side of the battle, which didn't happen. But I think that was one of the hopes of the North Vietnamese. One silver lining of having to remain in Vietnam was that Chickie was now able to tick one more name off his list.
No.
Bobby Pappas was one of Chickie's best mates from back home, and he had found out where he was stationed at the Long Binh Army Base that was only an hour's drive from Saigon. The Tet Offensive fighting continued, but the US forces had secured the main road going northeast, and Chickie saw this as his opportunity to visit his old mate. They got the embassy back within hours, and so a lot of those, a lot of the Tet Offensive, was undone pretty quickly.
Yep.
But the fighting went on.
Yeah, wow.
But it was still there was footage of this going back into America, and Americans, apparently the public was starting to go like, holy shit, we were told that we were winning this war, but this doesn't look like it's going in the right direction like we've been told. So according to Chickie, back out on the road, I hitched a ride northeast to the Long Binh base. When we arrived, I couldn't believe the huge scale of the place. About 50,000 soldiers were stationed there, as well as some of the top army generals in charge of planning the logistics of the war. Long Binh had restaurants, stores, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, tennis courts, basketball courts, a golf driving range, a bowling alley, classrooms, theatres, tennis courts, and nightclubs.
Wow.
Hectic. Chickie approached some military police and told them he was Bobby Pappas's stepbrother. They're like, really? If you're really his stepbrother, why don't you tell us some of the wild stories he tells us about New York? And he's like, oh, yeah, like this one or that one. And like, holy shit.
He's never said that one before.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, we'll take it to him.
I'll prove you know Bobby Peppers.
He talks about a lot of the stories he sort of scatters through the book as well. A lot of them are pretty fun. Anyway, they took him to Bobby, no problems from there. And the two had a great reunion, with Chickie giving his old mate one of New York's finest before the two headed to a bar for the night. And Chickie was able to catch Bobby up on how his wife and his baby were doing.
Oh, that's nice.
They also reminisced about old times. So these are 26-year-olds, but they're reminiscing.
I forgot he's 26.
Yeah. No.
Fucking hell. That's wild.
And a lot of the people that he's catching up with already, they've been like 20 years old.
Yeah.
So I haven't gone through many of his old neighborhood stories, but this one I thought was short and a bit of fun. So this is one of the stories apparently they reminisced about. They used to live in an apartment together, and one story in the book was that they let someone stay in their apartment because he had worn out his welcome everywhere else. He's like, I don't know where else to go. I'm a real pest. They're like, all right, you can stay with us.
I'm a terrible house guest.
And it sounds like he really was. So this guy, Jimbo his name was, I think.
Jimbo.
He got so hot. He's like, it's too hot. So he broke every window in the apartment to let cool air in.
What?
But then it became so freezing. So Bobby and Chickie went to a bar to warm up. And when they came home, firefighters were putting out a fire Jimbo had set because he was too cold.
Has Jimbo somehow, like Brendan Fraser style, travelled from the past?
Doesn't know how to open a window.
It's Encino Man.
Yeah.
And then he started a fire because he was too cold because he'd smashed all the windows. Incredible. A great story.
Hey, Jimmy, just come over here. See this latch? You can just push that window up. And if you get too cold, you push it back down.
You can control how much air can get in. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, he set fire to like a gas heater.
It's too cold.
Anyway, so Chickie stayed with Bobby on the base for the next few nights. He didn't have this deadline anymore. He thought he was going to be flying to Manila, the day before.
Yeah.
But that couldn't happen. So he stayed for a few nights before heading back to Saigon. When he was back there, the next night, he was at a rooftop bar talking with journalists again.
Rooftop bar, lovely.
Yeah, apparently they moved all the bars to the rooftops because of there were a bunch of bar explosions on ground floors. So that for safety, all the bars in Saigon ended up being moved up to the rooftops.
Why are they exploding?
Why are they exploding? Like enemy bombs.
Oh, gotcha.
They're in a war.
They're in a war, Dave.
But does the rooftop not explode?
I think that, I guess it's just, I don't know if they were like, you know.
If you're on top of a building and the bottom of the building explodes, are you not also in danger?
But it's a lot hard. I guess it's a lot harder to get a bomb. It's a lot easier to go through a front door and chuck a bomb in.
Gotcha.
But get all the way up to the top.
I was thinking that there was like terrible bar people like accidentally, you know, like making moonshine and explosions in the basement.
They need no roof on top because of all the awful putrid gases that were being created.
Open air.
That was Chickie.
Chickie.
It was because Chickie has fucking dropped his guts again.
We're going to need to get this guy to one of our outdoor areas.
Drop your guts is such a funny euphemism for a fart. Dropping your guts.
And in my head, I was like thinking van bombs and stuff, you know, on the front doorsteps. But yeah, I don't know why I jumped to that conclusion. But anyway, apparently that was why the rooftop bars were more popular. But anyway, so he's up on the rooftop bar when all of a sudden there was a massive explosion to the northeast and the night sky lit up orange. He said it looked like a mushroom cloud.
Whoa.
Then there was a series of further explosions getting louder and louder. And he knew straight away this was at Long Bin, where he'd just spent the last few days with his mate Bobby Pappas. Chickie was obviously worried sick about his friend, and he got the first available ride back up there to check on him. When he got there, he was relieved to find that Bobby was safe and sound, and they spent the night in the bar once again. This would prove to be the last leg of Chickie's epic beer run. As soon after, he found himself a gig as an oiler on a ship called the SS Limon. There was a lot more to the story of Chickie Donohue's time in Vietnam, and I would again recommend reading his book if you're interested. I believe the story is also being made into a feature film.
Oh, cool.
I think Russell Crowe might be in it. And I think
playing Chickie.
No, I think
the 26-year-old.
Chickie's being played by a heartthrob, though, I believe.
Mm-hmm. A Hemsworth?
Nah.
Okay.
Chalamet.
Yeah, maybe a bit
young enough.
Younger, a bit older than Chalamet, I reckon.
A Taron Egerton.
Not Taron Egerton. I can't remember. One, like I'd know his name, but I can't think of a single thing he's been in. It's got an E in it.
His
Ian
name
McKellen.
has an E in it. Edgar Allan Poe.
His
name has an E in it.
Oh, his name might have a vowel.
Starts with an E. Zac
Efron.
As Chickie.
Zac doesn't start with an
That's
E.
disappointed me. I won't watch it.
You're not a Zac head?
Not really, I don't think.
I wonder who Rusty's going to play. Maybe he'll play one of the old Aussies at the bar.
Oh,
yeah,
play the Colonel.
mate. Welcome to me bar. Good to see you at the bar. We call it a pub in Australia, where I'm from.
So
that was my audition.
that's good. You got
I'm
the
going to
job.
be a bar wench.
I think that would be fantastic.
Polishing glasses, saying something sassy, and everyone's like, nah, she's all right.
There was a whole bit that I skipped over where he started. He met a mate who was another merchant seaman, who was docked at the port, and they had the boat was loaded up with frozen perishable goods, and Chickie started smuggling them out and delivering them to people who were starting to struggle. The Tet Offensive meant that getting food was harder, so he was feeding people. And then the animals at the zoo needed food, so it was So like, there's heaps more to this story, but
do we believe this guy? And then I started feeding starving animals, and I was saving all these kids.
And then the lion said, "Thank you, Chickie.
And then
I was so hungry before."
I dressed up as Santa and started handing out presents to all the kids, and then their mums were like, "You're the best guy I've ever met."
And the hottest.
And then I heard something behind me, and I turned around, and it was a grenade, and I caught it, and I threw it back.
I piffed it back, and someone said, "Wow, you're great. Would you like a contract with a Major League Baseball team?"
I piffed it back.
I piffed it.
well, I mean, he said, like, if I feel like if he was making it all up, when he was handed the grenade launcher, he would have shot it and taken someone out. Not said, I was too scared to use it and I laid low.
That night, I killed 40,000 enemy soldiers.
I ended the war.
My farts are really gross. All right, mate. Oh, check this braggadocious guy.
This fucking guy.
So in the end, he had beers with 4?
He had beers with 4. Yeah, I'll start the wrap up here. So he jumped on and worked on the SS Limon which arrived back in Seattle. He said he reckons he was the first one to disembark, then he literally kissed the ground when he got back on the soil.
Land.
Back to the book. According to Chickie, I headed straight downtown for the first department store I could find, which turned out to be a J.C. Penney. There I bought underwear, socks, a pair of pants, and a shirt. I also picked up a pair of shoes, even a jacket. I asked them to clip off the tags. I walked into the fitting room, put on the new clothes, and threw out my old ones. The jeans, the Madras shirt that I'd basically been wearing for 4 months into the garbage can.
Chickie.
It's a shame he didn't have the foresight to frame them, put them up at the Fiddler's Bar.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, yeah.
And then he bought a ticket on a plane back to New York City. Arriving home, according to Chickie, I hailed a taxi and told the driver to head straight to Inwood, Manhattan, more specifically to Doc Fiddler's Bar. I was lucky to be coming home when others hadn't. I hoped my buddies would come home soon too. As the taxi wended its way into Inwood, I was thinking about whether what I had done was as totally reckless and crazy as some had said to me. Then the cab pulled up in front of Doc Fiddler's, where it all began. I walked in, and the bar was nearly full. Somebody spotted me and yelled out, "Colonel, it's Chickie." The colonel yelled out, "Holy shit, Chick, you're alive." Yeah, I'm alive. And so are Tommy and Rick and Kevin and Bobby. There was pandemonium. I didn't care anymore whether it had been reckless or not. The colonel, who never drank on duty, poured himself and everyone else a beer and raised it. To Chickie, he said, "Who brought our boys beer, respect, pride, and love, God damn it."
Sick.
Sadly, Chickie never found two of the men on his list. Richie Reynolds was killed the day after Chick arrived in Queenon Harbour.
Oh, wow.
He also didn't find Joey McFadden, but this was for a less tragic reason, although not a great one. Before he could find him, Joey had been sent home after twice contracting malaria.
Oof.
Chickie returned. Apparently, Joey McFadden, he got home and he hung out with his brother that night and told him all about his experiences of war and then never mentioned the war again for the rest of his life.
Holy shit.
Chickie returned home a changed man. He didn't see Vietnam the same way. He thought of those who had died and the families that had destroyed, all because of egos and miscalculations at the top. He found himself broadly agreeing with the Vietnam War protests. He went over basically going, I'm going over in a sort of his own protest against the protest. And he came back, he's like, I'm with you.
I think they're right, yeah.
And he also said what they didn't realise before was that some of their brothers and sisters and friends were at those protests already. And in the end, like, returned servicemen were joining the protests. And in the end, he just wanted his friends to return home safely. And gladly, I can tell you that Tommy, Kevin, Rick and Bobby all did. And they still catch up for a beer to this day.
No, they don't.
There's photos of them from a couple of years ago all catching up, having a beer together.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's the story of what is normally dubbed the greatest beer run ever.
Oh, that is great.
What a tale.
I'm so amazed that he got out of there safely, that all but one of the boys did as well. Like, that's
Yes.
statistically pretty impressive. And, you know, an uplifting story. So often our stories are a bit bleak. That was a great story.
Yeah, it's set on the backdrop of a lot of bleakness, but it's sort of like a little positive story amongst a pretty grim backdrop.
Is there a little part of you as well that was listening to that story, Dave, and being like, and this was all before Google Maps?
Oh my God. Honestly.
All before smartphones.
He had no idea
And I
where
don't mean to sound like a fucking millennial. I can read a map. I'm just saying, like, how much easier it is now to be like, okay, I'm not fully sure where I am. GPS? Okay, that's where I am. How do I get out of here? Oh, that's how I get out of here. You know?
But he was extremely fortunate. Chick, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah,
Straight off the
amazing.
boat.
That's the best.
Straight off the boat,
Found
and then
found one straight off the boat.
hitching a ride, and the driver. Like, I abbreviated that story. The way he told it was, he jumped in, and the driver didn't even look back, and they were driving for a while, and he was telling his story, and then the driver was like, turned around and went, wait, what the hell, Chick?
Are you kidding?
Slams on the brakes.
Yeah.
That's wild. Great story, Matty.
Yeah, that was a ripper.
Bit of fun. So, yeah, I think, like I say, great audio book. I've really enjoyed it, listening to it the last week or so of an evening.
Yeah, thanks everyone that suggested that, because that is...
Yeah, I'd never heard of
What a
it.
tale.
No.
So, yeah, one of those great stories. And what an obvious story to turn into a film.
Oh, yeah.
You hear it, you're like, oh, this is...
I was thinking this has already got to be one, surely.
Yeah.
That's great.
So it'll be interesting to see how much of that, what they do with that, do with the story.
Cool.
Yeah, but it is also one of those ones that you worry that in the film it'll be so, everyone will be like, as if. But it's like, no, sometimes stories are unbelievable.
Yeah, can you tone down this script a bit? It's a bit far-fetched, mate. So that brings us to the part of the show where we like to thank some of our great Patreon supporters. You can support us at patreon.com/dogoonpod or dogoonpod.com. And there's a bunch of different rewards you get for supporting us. Dave, you got a few examples there?
Hey, we have a fantastic Facebook group that you can be a part of. It's honestly one of the nicest and possibly only 100% nice corner of the internet. Like-minded do-go-on people get together and post some funny stuff, which I really enjoy being a part of that group, as well as our 3 bonus episodes every single month. So nearly every week you get to listen to this show we put out, but also a bonus episode, as well as 150 other bonus episodes that are already there. As soon as you sign up on that level, you get access to all of them.
That's right. Yeah, so much good stuff, and there's even more than that. And you can, it's all listed if you go to one of those websites.
Many things.
One of the things you can do if you sign up on the Sydney Scheinberg level or above, you get to be involved in the fact, quote, or question section of the show, which is where you get to give us a fact, a quote, or a question, even a brag or a suggestion, or whatever you like.
It can be anything you want it to be.
And I read them out for the first time as I read them out on the show, and I do 4 each week. And this week we're going to start with Kelly Clark, and you also get to give yourself a title, I should say. And Kelly's title is Deputy Official Secretary to the Official Secretary of Do Go On.
Okay.
And Kelly has asked a question. The question's always the hard. I've noticed we've been finding lately that questions without notice are harder. So maybe I should pre-read these, but I'll never think that far
Pre-read just the questions, maybe, yeah.
Kelly's question is, what's the weirdest place you've ever slept? Oh, that's pretty appropriate coming off this one. I think Chickie might say a foxhole on the outer edge of the perimeter. And Kelly's go-to answer is the middle of the racetrack at Randwick Racecourse after a 10 or something kilometre walk and then hanging out with the Pope. Oh, my God. That's a wild sentence.
That is a sentence that... it leads to questions.
I didn't even know the Pope was into gambling, but wonder what that was. That the Golden Slipper? Wonder what event that was. Weirdest place I've ever slept. Jeez, I don't know if I've slept in that many weird places. Slept on a trampoline on Millennium Eve.
Oh, Millennium! I've slept on a trampoline as well,
That's
but
great.
not on Millennium Eve.
Fantastic. Well, is it a story then?
No.
Yeah. Was yours just like a Tuesday?
Yeah.
You fucking nerd.
No, it was worse. It was a Wednesday.
Hump day, am I right?
Who gives a shit?
No one cares.
What about
different airports? You know, just on the floor at airports.
Floor of an airport.
I had to sleep outside when I was traveling because I'm like it's not that wild. I just slept in a park because I was in Salzburg, I think, in Austria, and I got there early, too early the night before when I wasn't checking until the next day.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, that's not that weird. And the Pope wasn't involved. I don't think I can beat your story,
No,
Kelly.
we can't beat that.
one time after a uni play that we put on? It was the final night. You have a cast party afterwards in the theatre, and then someone found that in the room next to the theatre was like a room full of mattresses. And the mattresses were like used for people that slept on campus. But we were like, great, let's just sleep on these mattresses. And so we just put them all out, lie next to each other on this massive bed, to fill the room. And then there's just the sound of someone pissing. And I look over and some guy's just pissing in his sleep, just pulling his pants up, just pissing.
No.
And then when he woke up, he tried to blame it on someone else.
And you'd filmed the whole thing. You said, look, I've got footage.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can see why you'd pass the blame, bit of embarrassment there.
Yeah.
But blame it on a cat or something. Oh,
Yeah, I think
this
it was a
smells like
cat.
cat
It was like,
piss to me.
Mate, we saw you pissing.
We all saw you, mate.
I think this was... Oh, I've heard this place is haunted by a pissing ghost.
Yeah, pissing ghost. And then they make it look like someone else did it.
Yeah.
You guys haven't heard that story?
Yeah, because
Okay.
but...
I remember, I fall asleep on planes and buses and cars all the time.
So you sleep very well. Like sleep, some people sleep very easily in different places. You're one of those people?
I think so. I remember one time towards the end of year 12, falling asleep in a classroom, and it was like we were doing our drama performances that night, like a showcase. So we were at school late, rehearsing and stuff, and we'd stopped for a dinner break, and I fell asleep, curled up on a little box, like a cat, curled up on a box just against a wall. And I kind of came to, as my teacher said, shh, just leave her. And I fell asleep.
You're like, okay.
All right. They're like, let her have a little kip. It's not that weird though, is it? And again, Pope, not.
Can't beat Pope. But, Kelly, you beat us.
You beat us.
This time.
Yeah, that's a win.
God damn it. That's hard to... once the peep drops in, hard to beat that.
Hard to beat the peep.
Thank you, Kelly. Next one comes from Katie Clays, aka the Lizard Queen. I am the Lizard Queen.
Thank you, doctor. Oh, I'm not a doctor.
I can see the music.
I can see the time.
Katie's got a question as well, which is, what is your favourite way to listen to podcasts? Katie also answers her question, as we always encourage people to do. Saying, I love to pop the wank pods in and do my housework. It makes... What does that mean? I love to pop the wank pods in and do my housework. It makes the chores much funnier. And when my daughter asks what I'm laughing at, I can reply, the voices in my head. Wank pods. Is that what people call like the...
Well, I've just Googled wank pod, and the first thing that comes up, company offers employees pods to masturbate in while at work as an employment benefit.
I'm guessing that's sort of lingo to mean like, maybe that's, they're wanky because they're AirPods.
Yeah, maybe.
Wank pod.
Or maybe specifically for
Maybe
wanking.
it's the wank pods.
While you do the chores. Favourite way to listen to podcasts? I think it's, I'm normally in the car or running.
Yeah.
Not that I've run for a long time, but...
Yeah, I'm either on a walk or in the car. And in the car for a while. Like I've got a long drive. Because my drives to work are short. So it's just music or the radio. But long drives, I'll chuck a pod on.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the car or on the wank pods. Whilst cleaning, honestly, I like
the wank pods in.
While I'm cleaning up the kitchen at the end of the night, like chucking it on. Because I often think, is this worth it? It's only going to take 10 minutes. But then...
It takes you 4 hours.
Honestly, so many times I'm like, I'm glad I listened to something because that took 45 minutes.
Yeah. I reckon dishes and cleaning up a kitchen can be very deceptive.
My God, yeah, you think, how long could it wipe down a couple of benches? I'll be right.
But other times you're like, this is going to take me ages, and you're done quickly, and you're like, So I guess it's all relative, isn't it?
Now time to relax in my wank pod.
To the wank pod.
Great work, Katie Clays. Hope you continue to enjoy your wank pods. The next one comes from Daniel Ryan, aka Tiny Balls.
Tiny Balls.
And Daniel's got a fact. And he writes, this is mainly for Matt. Sorry. Hey, you don't have to be sorry for that, Daniel.
That's okay.
That's fantastic.
That's fine. It's great.
Unless it's like really brutal criticism.
Then please continue.
Daniel writes, one of your last Primates episodes was a Q&A ep from Umbrella Academy, and you said you were going to do one more. So I submitted a fact in response to the potential episode. It never ended up happening. So I want to give you my fact here. Oh, it doesn't sound like something I would do. I always follow through. Don't I?
No.
What is that? I reckon I feel like I did do that. Did I forget to put it out? Anyway, so I submitted a fact in response to that potential episode. Here is my fact. That being said, I don't know what you said way back then that prompted this, but here it is.
Okay.
In all primates, the size of the male's balls directly relates to the promiscuity of the women. If a man of a species has big balls, it means he has to compete with all the other sexual partners his partners may have. If he has tiny balls, it means his partner will most likely be very loyal. So basically, the bigger the balls, the bigger the cuck.
Really?
And I have said many times, I have very big balls.
So the primates find the smaller balls more attractive?
Yeah.
Or can they change the size of the balls?
They don't need the balls to be that big.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Or maybe maybe the balls, because all the semen's not in there anymore.
Oh, God.
Sorry, the merchant,
Sailors.
the mariners.
Mariners.
So the balls shrink.
Right.
I should say I'm not a scientist.
Really?
Daniel says, thank you for everything you do. And if I remember, didn't they say your nickname was Big Balls? Yes, Daniel. I've come clean to that. I'm a cuck with big balls.
So that means you've got to compete a lot.
You're not even Big Balls in the group chat anymore. You're Miranda from Sex and the City.
What are you two?
I don't know what I am. One of the other characters, surely.
Yeah.
Is that why we said someone's Mr. Big, maybe?
Dave's
we do
Mr.
that?
Big. Dave's
We
Mr.
haven't-
Big.
Am I Mr. Big this whole time? Because you obviously don't see your own nickname.
Who am I?
I don't know. Whatever it is, I just see them as your names now.
But it's
Dave's
funny-
Mr. Dig and you're Carrie Bradshaw.
Carrie Bradshaw. Whenever I've got my wank pods in and I'm walking the dog, the AirPods like announce everything. So it'll be like, and she also has an Irish accent because it felt less jarring. So she goes, from Messenger. Miranda from Sex and the City, Matt says. Because we had to put your name afterwards as well because you got too confused.
Right, that's right. So we must have changed that back when we did the Sex and the City episode.
Which I wasn't even on.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Really coming
Are we,
something new.
yeah, are we due for something? Can I be Chickie?
Yes.
Chickie, that's good.
I'll be the Colonel.
Yes! Dave, you can be
Can I be a spare pair of socks?
socks.
Just socks.
Just socks.
Soxy.
Socks.
That's fun.
And the last fact quota question this week comes from Lisa Viana, who is the occupational therapist of the pod. Thank you so much for the work you do,
Thank
Lisa.
Yes,
you.
and as we discovered last time, a very important job.
Very important
Which
job.
we already knew, but it was established last time.
This is another question, which is, how popular were Mad Libs when you guys were growing up? I don't know I don't know if I know what that means.
Me either, I don't think.
You guys have said you are up for anything in this section, including recipes, brags, compliments, etc. So get ready for a Mad Lib.
Okay.
Because this may come out around the 4th of July.
Oh.
I thought it would be fun to have an American Independence Day themed Mad Lib. Matt, if you would be so kind as to fill in the story with Dave and Jess's answers.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Oh, yeah, okay. And then we can all learn a little bit of history together. Wait, hang on. So I've got... Oh, wow, okay.
So you have to fill it in.
Okay,
You just tell
okay.
us whether it's a noun, a verb,
I'll just-
whatever, and we give you those.
Ah, so you've heard of this.
And then you build the story from there.
This sounds like improv, is it?
Yeah, it's a give me an occupation.
I'm going to need occupation.
Um,
Wank pod seller.
Wank pod salesman.
all right, so I need an adjective.
Remind me what an adjective
It's a
is.
describing
Describing.
word, I think.
Hot.
Hot. Need a plural noun.
Jess, obviously you know what that is.
Cats.
Hot cats.
Need a noun and a number.
Noun and a number. Okay.
You do the noun, I'll do a number.
Okay. Box.
1 million.
Need another adjective.
Slimy.
Yeah, good one.
Need a proper noun.
What's a proper noun?
It's like a place
Like
or a
a-
name,
yeah,
right?
it's
Oh,
something
yes,
you
yes, yes,
capitalise.
yes. Oh, okay. I'm loving this. Chicago.
The Windy
good.
City.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
And a noun number.
Noun and number.
Wait, it says noun, comma, number. Does that mean I need both? Because that's what I did last time.
Yeah. It'll all make sense.
All right, great.
Okay, you do the number this time. No, you do the noun. I'll do the number.
Okay. Dave.
69. The first number that came to my head. Don't ask me why.
Adjective.
Shiny.
Nice.
Verb.
Jump.
Jump. I was...
Jumping. Whatever. Yeah.
Wow.
Is it jump or jumping?
Jumping. Don't
I
like
think
it.
it's jump, isn't it?
Don't like your
I think
attitude.
both of them are.
Okay, great. I bet one is some version of that. Don't add us. And then a noun number again.
Okay, you do the noun.
I don't know. Is that noun or no? It's got to be both, right?
Okay.
We'll see when we put it all together. I guess.
Disc man.
Oh. 1975.
We need an adjective.
Oh my god, this is so long.
Yeah.
Another adjective.
Tall.
Good one.
Need a proper noun and a name.
Proper noun and a name.
I reckon. I don't know. Anyway.
President.
Barry.
And just two verbs to finish.
Okay. Sweat.
Glisten. Is that a verb?
Yeah. Something glistens.
Okay. Well, here it is.
Okay.
This is with thanks to Lisa Viana. This is for sometime around New York Independence Day or whatever. 4th of July, is that Independence Day?
Mm-hmm.
Where Will Smith beat the aliens. The Declaration of Independence is a hot document because it means the cats of the box, 1 million colonies, decided to be slimy from Chicago. In the year Dave 69, the shiny Congress decided to jump Discman. 1,975 leaders to write the Declaration of Tall. They agreed to have President Barry Jefferson sweat the document and glisten it to Congress after that. The end.
I love it.
Did that work?
Maybe tall felt like it was wrong, but that's okay.
You think glisten at the end there worked perfectly?
Yeah, I think it worked. That was great.
Yeah,
They glistened
it to Congress.
Yeah.
Fantastic work.
That's good stuff.
That's my
Right
first
there.
ever Mad Lib.
That's my first ever Mad Lib.
Aw.
I've heard the term Mad Lib, I think, but I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, well, that brings us to the next part where we like to thank a few of our other great Patreon supporters.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And Jess, you normally come up with a game based on the topic?
Yeah, I was thinking what they could deliver to their friends.
Fantastic. At the Vietnam War or anywhere?
Anywhere, but preferably at the Vietnam War.
Okay. Well, if I could kick us off, I'd love to thank from Houston, Texas in the United States, Kevin Moyer.
Kevin Moyer delivered gingerbread bickies.
Oh, homemade?
Homemade.
Well done, Kev.
Home decorated. And
Kevin.
Kevin actually tailored each little packet. Each little packet had like 5 gingerbread people in them. And Kevin decorated them all individually to that person, which
That
I think is
is
nice.
nice.
too.
That's a beautiful
amazing.
touch from
Yeah, it's
Kevin.
really sweet.
Beautiful work, Kevin.
Really heartwarming and spirit lifting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'd also love to thank from Port Allen in Louisiana in the United States, Jay Cormack.
Jay Cormack delivering oysters.
Ooh, aphrodisiac.
Aphrodisiac, yes. By the time he gets them there, they may be very off, but still, it would be rude for the people to not shuck them with Jay.
Yeah, and then fuck them with Jay.
Yeah,
Shuck 'em and fuck 'em.
and then get really sick with Jay because these things are putrid.
But what is more intimate than
Sharing a toilet,
sharing a toilet when you've both got food poisoning?
just going back to back
There's
on a can,
There's nothing
hoping for the
No
best.
aphrodisiac
more
like that.
beautiful and more intimate than that. That, some people say like sex is intimate. Whatever.
What the hell?
Not the way I do
schmecks,
it.
I say. It's very impersonal.
Oh yeah.
But for me, I knew he was the one when we shat ourselves together.
Oh my goodness! When you filled that bathtub at the same time.
Phil. Thank you so much, Jay, for all your support.
Matt just gritting his teeth through that whole thing.
Sorry.
Stop it, you fucks.
I'd also love to thank from Warrington in New South Wales, Australia, Julie Page.
Julie Page.
Julie Page. What's Julie wanting to deliver?
Delivered a rocket, as in like a message, like at half time in a game. They delivered a rocket. They really put a rocket up them.
Oh right. Like
So she went over there and she revved them up.
gave him like
Whoa.
a halftime speech.
Like a
Yeah.
pep talk.
halfway
Pep talk.
halfway during the war.
Yeah. Okay, you boys, you're
Come
going to go
on, you
out
boys.
there.
Give 110%.
We've come this far. There's
Yeah.
no turning back now.
If you get through this, we can all shit in a bathtub together. Stuff like that.
You're going to get back up and give us everything you got.
Yeah.
Don't think, do, and stuff like that.
Wow, Julie, that's
powerful
amazing.
stuff.
Yeah.
Great work.
Incredible stuff there. Do you want me to thank some people?
That'd be a lovely gesture.
I would love so much to thank from Milton Keynes in Great Britain. I would love to thank Chris and Sadie.
Chris and Sadie, thank you so much for supporting the show. Obviously, they are delivering 1 million rubber dinghies.
Ooh, that's a lot of dinghies.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
heaps, actually. How are they
As in
delivering
condoms?
them?
Or you mean boats?
No boats.
Oh, dinghies, not
Not
dingers.
dingers.
1 million rubber dingers. So if you look, inside each dinghy is a dinger.
Oh, that's nice. You can fuck in your boat. Sorry.
There's no surname there. Do you think it's Chris de Berg? Could it be?
Could it be Sade?
The best brows in the biz? I think it could be Sadie the cleaning lady.
Oh, that's better.
Chris de Berg. It's Sadie the cleaning lady.
Oh, yes, Sade didn't have the I. Pardon me. Wrong spelling. Same spelling for Christerberg, so that hasn't been debunked
because it's
yet.
Chris.
This could be Christerberg and Sadie the cleaning lady.
Those rubber dinghies are going to come in really handy.
Yeah, what are they going to use them for?
It's basically though if you need to evacuate the war real quick.
Yeah, right. Okay.
A million of them. Imagine that.
That's very cool.
10 to a boat.
Yeah, everybody hop in.
Hop in.
Hop
One
in.
lucky couple gets to share. What the other thing we had in there? You know?
Everybody else, avert your eyes
Yeah.
for 3 to 5 minutes.
Lock away. 3 to 5. Jeez, that's a lifetime.
It's been a while. And I'd also love to thank from Newstead in Queensland.
Oh, where the brewery is. And you said brewery there.
Fantastic.
I'd love to thank a fellow Jess Newman.
Oh, do you like when you meet another Jess?
Oh, I mean, it happens quite often. But yes.
Or do you mean
I was
Jess?
I was at a wedding recently, and my good friend Mitch met another Mitch for the first time in his life.
No,
Wow.
not possible.
Had never
really.
met another Mitch.
No.
And I was like, it's not that uncommon a name.
Did
Mitch
they meet-
Buchanan from Baywatch.
He hasn't met Mitch Buchanan. That's the thing, though.
Did
He's
they
heard
meet-
of other Mitches.
Mitchell Johnson from the Australian cricket team.
Yeah, again, he's heard of Mitches.
Did they immediately start arm wrestling because there can only be one?
They were arguing a bit.
Mark Mitchell from Comedy Company.
That's right. And they were talking about...
You're talking to a 3-year-old yelling stuff.
Very good, Maddie.
Well done.
Like when, a toddler interrupts a parent's conversation, they go, Sorry about that. And
What about the suburb of Mitchell?
that's right. That is a
Good
place.
one. Sorry, he's so fucking annoying.
They're
But I
terrible
like
at
to
this
encourage
age.
him.
At least it's somewhat relevant to what we're talking about, which is impressive developmentally.
Mitch Lewis, the Hawthorn player.
And everyone was joking about how there can only be like one person of each name at the wedding, and I didn't want to tell them my name because there were 3 other Jesses.
Sam Mitchell, the Hawthorn coach.
That's right. Did we say what Jess Newman was
Jess Newman is
delivering?
A 60-mile-an-hour bouncer.
Bouncer.
They're the short stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So she comes over
60 miles, which is quite slow for a bouncer. It's 100k an hour.
160 kilometers an hour.
Nice.
I was getting because I was trying to say once. I wanted to say 100, but I'd already started with the 6.
Yeah,
and I thought I could convert it to miles mid-sentence. But you're right, that would be a slow bouncer. Shane Warne's bouncer.
a slow short ball. There we go.
Just
Straight to
she's
the
getting
stands.
absolutely tonked.
Yeah, that's out of the stadium. But
I don't understand.
Jess is delivering a very fast ball. A bit of sweet
okay.
chin music.
Yeah, a bit of
bouncing
chin
up,
music.
Bouncing up that could hit the batsman in the face.
Chin music.
Yeah.
Oh, love
Know what I'm
that.
talking about?
Yes. Well, I mean, great work there, Jess.
Great work, Jess.
I think. And finally, for me, I would love to thank from Roland in Oklahoma.
My goodness, can you believe
How
it?
exciting!
Oklahoma, where the dim dum drummers in the brain.
Well, I'd love to thank Ashley Addington. That's a good name. Ashley Addington. Love that.
Ashley Addington is
Delivering.
Bad news.
Oh no!
To bad people.
To bad
Oh
people.
yay!
They were about to kill a kid.
But the news distracted them and the kid got
news
away.
distracted them, yeah. It was kids saving bad news.
So sorry I had to say that, but
It's a wild tactic by Ashley, but it came off. It was bold. It was brave. But it was a success.
yeah, Ashley gets results.
Yeah.
Great work.
Good job, Ashley.
I'd like to thank from Essendon in Victoria. I would like to thank Anna.
Anna.
Great work, Anna. Thanks for supporting the show. I think Anna is delivering
presents.
Ooh.
Santa is unwell. Ate some bad oysters or whatever. And but yeah, Anna was like, "I will do it. Can
this
I
sort of
put
like
on the funny little suit?"
Santa Claus
Yeah.
sort of universe, or is this more like the Christmas Chronicles style?
Yes.
Forget you two Scrooges.
Oh yeah, or is this the Chronicles of Riddick?
Yep. It's all of these.
Fantastic work, Anna, delivering presents to the troops and the kids. You're a legend.
Pretty impressive stuff.
Hey, I would like to thank.
And in Vietnam, those two things were basically the same.
Yeah,
The troops and the kids.
They were very young.
Sorry to get political.
Yeah. Hey, I'd like to thank from Sinclair in South Australia. It's Nickybus. All one word in. Nickybus.
Nickybus.
Nickybus is delivering, what about cans of soft drink to replace in the vending machines?
Oh, an important job.
Is
Very important.
Nickybus driving a Black Thunder?
Yeah, I've given out icy cold cans of Coke. Enjoy that for me.
You know,
Answer this question. Where's the craziest place you've ever been to sleep?
enjoy that for me.
Name the secret sound.
It's the sound of Chickie just absolutely packing his stomachs. And then an engine being turned off.
They're always very specific.
That sounds like a suicide-inducing fart. Is that right?
That is correct.
Over
Yeah.
Vietnam.
Have a bit of Coke.
Have a bit of Coke.
Have a
Not
bit-
the whole
We
can.
don't- well, we've got
Okay.
to
Just a
share it
sip.
around.
Have a sip of the
We're
Coke.
also doing the taste test. Can you tell the difference between this and Pepsi?
I reckon I absolutely can.
I feel like I could.
That one's easy.
One time at the Eltham Festival growing up, they had a stall that was the blind taste test.
Yeah.
And I reckon I went about 15 times just to get a free bit of Coke and a free bit of Pepsi as a 9-year-old.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty
Oh,
clever,
it's
actually.
Keep lining up going, all right, I'll have another shot of each.
All that caffeine.
By the end of the day, I've had about 3 litres of each.
Yeah, you're fucked.
Coke's sort of crisper and Pepsi's sort of round, like slightly
Yeah,
rounder or
Pepsi's
something.
got
Does that
more
make
of a
sense?
lemon kind of. Yeah.
Right. I can only explain it in shapes.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I reckon I could tell the difference between regular Coke, Diet Coke, and Coke no sugar.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, I reckon I could. Different mouth feels for sure. Can't handle a regular Coke anymore.
The diet soft drinks still have that same slightly odd flavour.
Yeah, but after a while you get really used to it, and then
Yeah.
you want it.
You get addicted to that
Yeah.
odd flavour.
Right.
Give me that odd, I
Give
say.
me a bit odd.
Give me
Get
a
some
bit
odd
of,
into me.
give me a bit of that odd.
I love it odd.
I want a bit of strange.
Hey, well,
That's what I say anyway.
That's what I say.
I go to the bar
Get
and
a bit of
say,
strange
I
in my
need a bit
mouth."
of strange.
the good
Pour the
news,
strange right in my mouth.
the good news for both of you is that Nickybus is restocking that machine with whatever you want.
Perfect.
Wow.
It could be Nick Ibis. It's probably Nicky Bis.
Oh, it could be Nick Ibis. You're right.
Could I get Portello
Absolutely.
or Lift
Oh, yum.
or Deep Spring Passion Fruit and Orange?
What about Passiona? Kirk's Pasito. I like that. Either of those. Hey, Nick Ibis, Nickybus, you're doing absolutely God's work there. And finally, I would like to thank from Brunswick here in Victoria as well. It's Zoe Milne or Zoe Milne.
Zoe Milne.
Zoe Milne. What's Zoe delivering, Bob? All right, well, this is a 3-worder.
Yep.
What do you want now?
We want you adjective, noun, and I'll see what happens after that. All right, here we go.
Massive.
Monkey.
Heads.
Whoa.
Okay.
Massive monkey heads.
That's just good
Whoa.
stuff.
like paper mache ones for dress-ups.
Oh, and for
So they
parties.
do a pageant. They can do like an army pageant.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Where every character's a
A
big monkey.
That's fun.
That's fun. That'd be a
Time
bit
for
of
the
fun.
annual monkey competition.
Yay! Who's the best monkey?
Zoe Milne.
She's designed all of them.
Yeah.
They all look the same.
Zoe's kept the best one for herself.
Well, fair enough. Make all the others a little bit shit.
Yeah, maybe it's like an army monkey swimsuit competition. So everyone's wearing a swimsuit, but they didn't want to favour anyone. They don't want any bias, so everyone has to cover their face with a
Yeah,
mask.
right.
good
Well,
one.
that's good. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Zoe, Nicobus, Anna, Ashley, Jess, Chris, Sadie, Julie, Jay, and Kevin. Last thing we need to do is welcome a few people into our Triptych Club. There's 3 inductees this week. The way this works is if you're signed up on the shout-out level or above for 3 straight years, you get welcomed in. You get a lifetime pass to the Triptych Club. Now, I'm standing at the door. This is Theatre of the Mind stuff. I've got my clipboard out. I've got the names on the list. I'm going to read them out. Lift up that velvet rope. Welcome you in. Dave's up on the stage, as is everyone who's already a member in the club. They're cheering you along. They're chanting. They're excited. Dave's up there hyping them up as we speak. And he's going to welcome you in with a bit of weak wordplay based on your name or your place of residence, and then Jess will give Dave a bit of a boost because he'll probably be low on confidence after sort of failing with his job. And Dave also
I zoned out for a second. I assume that was negative.
Yeah, it always is.
Did not
with
hear
him.
what he said.
Honestly, it doesn't have a nice word to say about anything or anyone. He's a real piece of
You're
shit.
a real negative Nancy.
Dave normally books a band as well for the after party.
He's good at listening.
Dave,
Too.
You're absolutely not going to believe this. I booked these guys weeks ago, and we've actually got Vietnam, the band,
Wow.
capital N on Nam. Rock band from Brooklyn. Been rocking since 2004. A lot of different members coming and going, but obviously they are still rocking and
Are
rolling.
they going to be playing their hits from The Concrete's Always Greyer on the Other Side of the Street? That's my favourite of their
Love that album.
albums.
2004?
Yeah, of course.
Jeez, you do love music.
I love music.
Triple J. Now, Jess, you normally come up with
Sorry.
a cocktail.
I just looked at the discography of this band. Are you really hoping that they play Apocalypse, spelt capital A, then Poc, then capital L-A, like L-A, Los Angeles, Apocalypse.
See, that's clever. That's the kind of thing you'd like because it's pretty weak sort of
Yeah.
wordplay stuff.
Honestly, the weaker the better.
You love that shit.
Bob, you normally come up with a bit of a cocktail. You're behind the bar. What are you mixing up this week?
Well, this one's in tribute of the topic and being all about sort of, bringing beers to the friends. I made a beer cocktail, which is just a shandy, really, isn't
Ooh.
it? But I can add cordial to it to give it different colours if
Oh,
you
yeah,
want.
that's
Food
fun.
dye or something.
Yeah, I think that's
I
nice
can
stuff.
put it in a glass with
Red, white, and blue.
Yes.
God bless America.
Probably, how will I do white?
Mm.
Not in a healthy, like, I don't,
Milk.
you can't drink that one. Yeah, okay, I'll put
Curdle
milk
a
in
bit
it.
of milk in there.
Oh, I'll just put some yogurt in it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, just chuck some yogurt in it.
Perfect. Okay, great. And then I'll
You
just...
could. What about semen?
What about them? Yeah, they can order the drinks, I guess.
Great. Yeah, I just want to double check that.
Everybody's in... I don't
Semen
exclude
would be
based
allowed.
on occupation. And I'll put little American flag on toothpicks in it as well. Instead of umbrellas, I'll put little American flags.
That's beautiful.
That'll be nice.
Awesome. All right, Dave, you ready to welcome in this week's inductees into the club?
Are you feeling supported and loved, Dave?
No, I'm not feeling supported and or love. Can I get some pre-hype going here?
Of course you can.
From both of you.
Dave, you do a great job. I think you...
Actually, do you know what, Dave? Do you know what I can do that can actually help you? Is I can shut him down. Matt.
I don't want to break
Matt,
kayfabe here.
look at me.
Dave. I'm doing a bit. I think you do fine work. It's not as bad as I make it. It's pretty bad, but it's not that bad.
He's just unstoppable. Somebody's a bit of a grump today. I think he's got his period.
So I'm going to
Read
read
some
it.
names, you miserable fuck.
All right, here we go. First up from your mum's butt in Brighton in Great Britain, it's Mr. Heggie.
Mr. Heggie, doing an Eggie with
Yeah,
Heggie.
Eggie with Heggie.
Welcome, Mr. Heggie, all the way from your mum's butt.
love
So
you.
good to have you, Mr. Heggie. She's done so much great artwork for us. Was it last year's Christmas card or the year
Yes,
before?
it was last
maybe
year before.
Year before,
So,
yeah.
Heggie.
Love Mr. Heggie's work. Big fan. I'm looking at one of his stickers on the back of Dave's computer right now.
There's one on Jess's computer as
Yeah, I've
well.
got one
Oh,
too.
shit.
Mine says life sucks.
I'd also love to thank from Tainmouth.
I think it's Tinmouth.
Tinmouth in Devon. Tainmouth in Devon. Come on, Tunmouth and Dove.
We've lost him.
This could take a while.
Tunmouth. How do you do it in Devon accent?
I'm
Devon.
not sure.
Oh, he's knows you. I'm in a combined orchestra. Apples and... All right. From Tynmouth in Devon, Great Britain, it's Alex Mallon.
Or more like from Wynmouth.
Yes, because we're winning.
Wynmouth.
And I bet Alex does scones the right way. Cream first in Devon. It's the Devonshire way. And finally from New Farm in a great spot in Brisbane in Queensland, Australia, it's Murray Somerville.
Oh, I thought
Holy
tonight-
shit, another one of our... He did our Christmas cards last year. How weird is
This is
that?
amazing. Two of the artists that we love so much. And I thought tonight, honestly, I looked out, thought this could be the first bad night we've had in ages. This could be a Bummerville. But then I saw Murray Somerville and everything got better. Thank you so much, Murray. You do have fantastic artwork.
You can also purchase stickers and a jumper of our merch that Murray has designed.
That's sick.
Which is
so
pretty
cool. That's so
freaking cool.
That's
Love that.
freaking cool.
Love that.
Thank you so much, Murray, Alex, and Mr. Heggie. That brings us to the end of the freaking show. Anything we need to tell people, Jess, Bob Perkins? You've just let them know about Snickers.
Yeah, we've definitely got some merch available. If you want to go check that out, you can find the link on our website, dogoonpod.com. It's also on our socials as well, and our socials are dogoonpod. And you can suggest a topic also at our website or in a link in the show notes.
Hell yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you.
Dave, boot this baby home.
Hey, we'll be back next week with another episode. But until then, I will say thank you so much for listening. And until then, goodbye.
Later.
Bye.